Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Military Mondays. For those of you who do not know who I am retired Major Brenda Sanchez, and I am the co-founder of Life's Real Currency with my husband, Michael Sanchez. And I bring you these Military Mondays every single Monday morning, like clockwork at 8 a.m. Mountain Time, because, you know, military is definitely clockwork. And my goal with these is to educate you and for you to get the word out about the military, what it's like to live in the military, and options once you get out. So I like to get information out about business owners that were either military spouses, were military members themselves, or were children of the military. And so what I'd love for you to do is, if you get value out of today's show, would you please pass it on to your network? We would absolutely love it. I have the pleasure today of having Brenda Wise on. So two Brendas.
Yes.
And Brenda is a dear friend of mine. I've known her for a while. I don't know how long, a little bit. And Brenda, in some conversations we had, I realized that she is the spouse of a military member. Actually, I think he's retired now, isn't he? Yep. So retired military, and she was a military brat. So she has a long lineage of military in her family. So I said, she's a superstar anyways, but I really needed to have her on my program today because I have learned so much from Brenda. And so thank you so much for being on today, Brenda. And can you tell the viewers just a little bit about your background, especially the military side, and then we'll have a conversation.
Absolutely. Brenda, thanks a lot for having me on today. I love supporting you and our military family. I live in Norfolk, Virginia, which is the largest military installation in the world. And I have about 11 bases from my front door in any direction. And it's all bases: Coast Guard, Air Force, Army, Navy. Have I left any out? They're all here. The Marines, of course, my dad. So my connection to the military is, my dad was a Marine, and he was what we call weekend warrior. So he was a Marine reservist for 30 years, and then they kicked him out. They said, you got to go. He was a master gunnery sergeant. And my husband was in the Army. He did not serve a full 8, 10, 15, 20-year career. However, for the last 23 years, he has served the VA in taking care of the veterans, which is his passion. And so I've really begun to appreciate that. I also speak a lot at military stand downs in my business. So I've had a great connection with the military. My cousin is a retired Army. My stepson is a JAG officer for the Army and a general now, 1-star general. So wow. Yeah, there's a lot in my family. Uncle was Navy captain. So yeah, I've just been around it my whole life. I don't know it any different.
Awesome. So what do you think you learned, especially starting out as a military brat and your dad serving that long in the service, 30 years? Thank you for his service, and a reservist. And I appreciate that because, as you know, the majority of my career was as reserves. I did start active duty. But tell me what it was like being the child of a military member, and did you move around with the reserves, or did you stay put pretty much?
We pretty much stayed put, so I was fortunate for that. Unlike my husband, who was born in Okinawa and then moved stateside, so he moved around quite a bit as an Army brat because his dad also was a major or whatever in the Army. But I think it's the loyalty, commitment. I love seeing my dad in his dress blues. He just looked awesome. And the funny thing is, my dad is such a servant leader, and he would give you the shirt off his back. So he wasn't that typical rough, tough Marine, kick ass. He was just the most loving soul. So I realized, we have that perception of people being so, targeted and, do this and drill masters and all that stuff. And so many that I've met over the years, including some of my own family members, are the most loving, tender-hearted people in the world. So that perception definitely was erased for me as I saw my dad, my husband, and others in my family.
Awesome. And so what do you do? I know what you're doing today, but tell my audience what you're doing today. And obviously your husband is been supporting the VA for many years. Tell us a little bit about that and what you do today and how you serve even the military community with what you do today.
So I've been a professional speaker and trainer my whole life. So for many, many, many years, one of my companies is called Citizens Against Crime. So I would go in and do safety stand downs for the military. I would also speak to the wives groups, whether it's officer wives, enlisted wives. I've done that for years and years and years. And I feel very honored that when these women are home alone and their spouses are deployed, it can be scary, it can be terrifying, and it's stressful on many, many different levels. But I would go in and help them understand how to be safe in their home when they're out and about with their kids in tow. And so that, for me, has been a passion and something I'm very grateful for. Watching my husband in the VA, it's really helped me to even be able to appreciate in a more deeper level those that have, come back with disabilities from serving, or just, the honor and the appreciation of all those who have served. And one of the things too, I think, is it's not so much the spouse that is deployed, but it's the family at home that we also want to say thank you to, because they're giving that spouse to the military, to Uncle Sam, to all of us to serve while they try to make it at home. And I've seen, oh my gosh, all my life, that's a struggle for people. It's really hard. I know that the church that I grew up in, we were very attached to the military. So we had a really strong support group of young military families and, holidays, inviting the military over to our homes. So that's one of the ways that we've, personally given back. I have military usually surrounding me somewhere in one of my houses, just immediately surrounding my house. So I had a gentleman who served in the Navy, was here for a number of years. So it's being able to befriend people too when they're here and they're from another place, to just help them make their way. So many different ways.
Awesome. And I do want to pause for a minute, because something you said, I say all the time, and I want to thank the military spouses, because you do serve. You may not have the rank on your shoulder or a patch on your shoulder, but you do, because without you, your spouse could not be that great enlisted member or that great officer. They really need the support of family. And so I commend you for your service also. So I just wanted to take a moment to say that, because I've run into so many, and you probably have too, with the military spouses clubs, that they don't feel like they're serving. And I'm like, oh my goodness, in a way, they're serving more than the military member is, because a lot of times you haven't chosen the military. I mean, you might have chosen to marry a military man or a military woman, but you didn't choose that as a career, yet you accepted it, and you are there to support. So thank you to all of our military spouses.
And the children as well, because when they're uprooted every 3 years, whatever, that is such a major adjustment for children to be able to have to be in a new school. Obviously, the spouse to have to be in a new community to learn where everything is. And, we have a great support group, I know, here in Virginia that can support a lot of different ways. Another way that I serve is we have many organizations here in the coastal Virginia area, boots on the ground. Mm-hmm. And so there are a lot of ways that I go in and teach military as they're transitioning out, because that is one of the most stressful things military people, enlisted or officers, face when they get out of the military. They don't even know how to dress. I mean, literally. And so, they don't know what to do unless somebody's telling them what to do. Now, you get some that get out and they're just an entrepreneurial person. Their entrepreneurial spirit, they've probably really gone through the ranks, but others, it's just terrifying. So boots on the ground here in our area, help with that transition, whether it's how to do a resume or, what business skills are most prominent in the workplace. So I love and I'm very passionate with Old Dominion University that we have a part of that as a very strong presence with our chamber, Old Dominion, and many other places around here.
Awesome. I love that topic and I want to stay there for a minute. So you've helped military transitioning. I've been there, done that, after a long career in the Air Force, even though some of it was reserves, a lot of it was active reserves, so full-time active duty. And it is quite a transition. It's an exciting time, but it is definitely a challenging time. So what words of wisdom or words of advice do you have for somebody that maybe has just retired, or maybe they're 3 to 5 years out from retirement? What would you say to them to help to make that transition easier or better?
So I would recommend that you talk to somebody who's been in business. I have a 36-year track record as an entrepreneur. And I think you have to be very careful when you, I would say, coach, mentor, consultant. But you see, for me, what I have an issue with is going to somebody who's a coach or a consultant or a mentor, but yet they've not been actively in the world of business on their own. They've come out of corporate America and now they've worn the hat of mentor, coach, whatever. And I just have a real issue with that, because unless you've been able to prove you are competent in all of the skill sets and mindset that it takes to really succeed, it's going to be hard. So I would say, number one, find a person, a professional who has actually been there, done it, and been successful and have a long history. Because I love nothing more than to sit down and brainstorm, okay, what are your areas of interest? What are you passionate about? Yes, you may have done this all along in the military, but now it's your time. What do you want to do to step out in the world and really give of yourself, and can do that with passion? Because that's the number one thing. If you're going to be in business, you better be passionate about it. Because if you're not, it's work. Like you and I,
Yes.
we have a life outside of the military and work, and we're very passionate about it. So for us, getting up every day, we're excited about that. We're pumped about that. But so many people in the workplace are going to get a paycheck and they're not passionate at all. And you can tell that. And that's not the kind of people you want to surround yourself with. So I like to coach and mentor. And I call myself a consultant, because I want to give them the foundation of what type of business is the best business to be in the 21st century, because there's typically 4 quadrants of different business lines. So steering them in what is going to be most lucrative, if they're putting in all of their effort. I come from the franchising world. I had 52 franchises. That's a great strategy for some people. So I love that industry. So there's many different ways that you can coach. What are the skills to have right now? Looking at our world, a lot of people go in the restaurant business, probably not the best business to go in right now. Hospitality. So you've got to know from somebody who's really savvy in business, what is that best directions? What are the steps that you take? Brainstorm. What's your marketing? So there's so many things that I feel like I can give and other professionals can give to really help that military person transition into something that will be a real win-win for them and the community they serve.
Awesome. And, you brought up a good point. You want to be passionate. I have seen so many people get out of the service and go straight into government work because it's in the comfort zone. It's in that box of comfort. That's what you've been doing for 10, 20, 30 years. It doesn't necessarily mean that's what you're passionate about. And I love that you touched on that, because And there are lots of veteran groups out there. I have 2 veteran groups here in Colorado Springs that I am a member of, and there are lots others, but we have 2 networking groups for veterans, or even if you're still serving, where you can come and get your feet wet and explore, interview people in all different types of professions and business owners in different fields to find out what it is that interests you. And that way you can, especially 2 to 3 years out from retirement, start going to those type of networking events and start making those connections and building those relationships, so that, I mean, if you want to go, if you are passionate about the military and want to do government work, I'm not telling you don't do that. But the majority of people I've run into, they're doing it just because. It's because that's what they know.
They've always known that, right? And
Yes.
that's what their comfort zone puts them into. And I can tell you right here, being in this massive military installation, we have so many companies that are blessed because they can bring in those military people who have a strong work ethic, who have been in an industry their whole career. And man, they get snapped up really quickly here in our area because businesses, major corporations are looking for all aspects of that type of person. But like you said, are you going in to do something you've always done? Because again, everybody that steps out of government, they walk right back into a civil servant job, or they walk into that same job in a corporation. And like you said, that may not be your passion. And you may haven't even explored that passion because in the military, you've been on one track. So you really need to, like I said, with boots on the ground and other organizations like you're talking about, we try to get people to think about what those possibilities are. Network, chamber. It's a great guy. I talked to a guy the other day, he's in the Coast Guard and he's manning getting the readiness, or been working on the readiness here for additional medical care. They do all that logistics. And he said, I'm probably going to be out in about 2 or 3 years. And so he said, what should I do? And I said, well, join the chamber and meet those people who can be influencers that can help you get a job. So I said, we need to really talk and look at where are the places you need to go. As an active business person, I know those places that are out there like you do that are great places to network.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Brenda. You and I could talk for hours. I might have to have you on another show in the future. Yes. But if you are in the Norfolk, especially if you are in the Norfolk, Virginia area, and you are getting ready to transition, or you're considering what you want to do when you get out, or maybe you've gotten out and you're stuck in a government or a contract job and you're not happy, please reach out to Brenda. There are lots of options out there and she can help you explore those options and get you happy and excited to get out of bed in the morning, because that's what we want to teach people to do, is be happy and excited and enjoy what you're doing. So if you are in that situation, please reach out to Brenda. If you're in the Colorado Springs area, obviously you can reach out to me. East Coast Brenda, Central, West Coast, the other Brenda. Brenda and Brenda, the Brenda and Brenda show today.
Yes.
So
also spouses.
Yes.
Spouses can reach out to you and I, either one. We are
Right.
women business professionals. So I love mentoring and coaching and advising women, and their deal is they're moving from place to place. So it's hard for them to get a job. So
Right.
What other options are available to them? I think you and I both are experts at that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have lots of connections to those, like you said, franchise opportunities or entrepreneurship opportunities where they don't have to pick up and start all over again every single time, because that is no fun. So if you found value today, please share this with your network. I'm sure Brenda's going to put some links below where you can get a hold of her phone number, her email, or that. Reach out to her on Facebook or on Messenger and connect with her, because she's an amazing lady, and we haven't even been able to scratch the surface of how amazing she is. So with that, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. And I look forward to seeing you next Monday on Military Mondays. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thanks so much, Brenda.